Hello, my name is Gretchen, and I'm a resident of Marshall. I am opposed to this Megasite coming in here. I have 3 children, a high schooler and 2 younger ones. I actually homeschool the younger ones because I don't like the school district here. We moved here from Colorado, from Fort Collins, which is a city of about, well, probably 170,000 or more now, and it was a better school district than I've seen in a small town, which is twice the size of the one I grew up in Northwest Ohio. I can't believe that people would be willing to give this up. We moved here specifically for a job in Battle Creek and picked this town because of the small community, because of the downtown, because it looks very much like something from a movie, like It's a Wonderful Life. This is what we chose for our family, and honestly, if this Megasite comes in, we're gone. We are able to be afforded that opportunity because I don't have connections here. I don't know anyone here too closely to where I feel it's a personal issue for me. We'll be gone, and I know other people who feel the same way. I was told by someone here that this has been planned for over 50 years and that no one here wants a recreation or park area, which is simply not true from everyone I talk to, pretty much. Oh, there are some who do want this here, and I understand that. And I understand that towns like this need growth when you've lost people, residents, but at what price? And why can't you grow, the hobby businesses downtown into actual businesses, or stay open a little bit later so people can go downtown and have dinner who don't get off work until 5 or 6, or who don't work a 9 to 5, like my husband, who works for the railroad. That was also brought up to me, the railroad. Coincidence, the railroad, the river, all this beautiful acreage destroyed. And that is what you can guarantee will happen if this Megasite comes in. I have seen nothing on the Choose Marshall site that talks about sustainability of this Megasite coming in, nothing that says anything about any possible cons, which there are always pros and cons, and I'm sure there are pros to this for some people. But what about the cons? At least be honest. The word transparency has come up. That is something I have seen none of since moving here with the school board, the district in general, and it seems like there are a lot of fingers stirring multiple pots who, are going to make so much money off of this. Realtors, what can make money? Bringing in people from out of town so we can build houses and apartment buildings that we've been planning for years. Oh, I'm sure that's a great idea for those people. But what about for the people who already live here or the people who want to move here? We'll be gone. We wanted to move to the country outside of town here, have a homestead, which is big coming back for a lot of people. They want to have homesteads. They want to have a few acres, some animals, things like that. Let their kids have that experience. We didn't want to move to a big town or a big city.
Choice. So it's illegal under PA 425. Paragraph 11 in both Schedules B and C. In the event there's a conflict between this agreement, the specific transfer is what they're referring to, and the master 425 development agreement, the terms of the master 425 development agreement shall control. Okay, so the key is it overrides what you're voting on tonight. So you don't have a choice. So they're clearly connected, and you're being forced to approve this by that master agreement, which I personally think is illegal. Historically, we've had a lot of problems in the township, and they lay at the feet of this board. We've had road problems where developers have put in roads that aren't known to the road department in terms of their construction. We've had drainage problems by developers who put in inadequate drainage. There's been lawsuits. We've paid $60,000 Marshall Township because of those failures of the Planning Commission. We had a cell phone tax you guys tried to push on us. I would have had 6 cell phones in my house, and each one of those would have been taxed. So in closing, I think you need to take a look at a conflict of interest. Richard Lindsay's on the Maeda board, Bob's on the Maeda board. I think you really need to take a look at that. I think Bob should be recused. I think he should recuse himself from this. Dan Walsh is in part a part of Walsh Industries, which would benefit from a company coming in and the representative.
Excuse me, Glenn.
No, I have microphone.
Yeah, I understand.
And your brother runs that company, so there's a conflict of interest there. So I think in closing, I would ask you to vote no, or at a minimum, allow a referendum. I don't think we've heard a lot of positive things from Marshall Township residents, so I would ask you to vote no. Thank you.
I'm Roger Summers. Can you hear me? I'm Roger Summers. I've had a business in this township and lived in this township my whole life. I have raised one daughter that is the agri-science teacher in Marshall. The agri-science program has doubled or tripled its size. It's over 100 kids that are interested in agriculture. Not interested in a manufacturing plant. They're interested in stuff. Now it includes Marshall, includes Albion, so you've got kids from Albion, and this program's expanding. If we let them take away half of the agricultural property in Marshall Township, what are we doing for our future generations? So I think these guys need to think about that, because that's who they're gonna be representing down the road. Now, I wasn't gonna come up here, but here I am. I have watched this township give up to the city of Marshall my whole life. We have a fella stands right here, says he works for the state or in economic development, all these great things that he did. Where's State Farm?
Yeah.
Where's Eaton Manufacturing? Where are all these things? You guys, oh, here I am today, I can do all these great things. We get this, tear everything up, pay somebody to cut all the trees down. You're sitting next to a forester.
No, I'm not, an engineer.
He's retired, okay?
Engineer.
In your economic development of these factories and stuff, how much oxygen will they produce? Do you guys look into how much oxygen those maple trees made? How much oxygen does that cornfield make?
Not carbon.
So, are we thinking about that? Are we thinking about dollars in our pocket? So, what happened to the city of Marshall? We're gonna go under the city of Marshall's grand, we can help you out. Marshall Township turned property over to the city. They put in a school, they put in all those Brewer Estate, all that property. Maybe you folks aren't old enough to understand it, but Marshall Township goes to the high school. Historically, the city's got it. We got the police and the fire department went out there. We got the ambulances went out there in Marshall Township. We got all this property that went out there, the whole block where State Farm was gonna move out there. The city was gonna run them sewer. It was gonna be all great, just like us over here. Have you drove by it lately? Where's Michigan Economic Development people? Boy, we're here to help you out. Give it all to us, and then nothing happens. And I've seen it over and over. Now, we're supposed to support it and get it. And personally, I own property on Michigan Avenue. If this goes through and everything's worth, somebody said they got $35,000 an acre for property. These guys paid $500,000-$600,000 an acre. I'm hoping that my property's worth $1 million. I probably won't stay here and down the road to watch these factories come. The next question is, where's the workforce? You talk about economic development and where's the workforce? You took 300-400 acres and made them into solar panels. So is the next section gonna have to be 3 high-rise apartments for people to live in? We can't keep workers at the factories we got. You're gonna ship them in? shipping them in from Mexico. I mean, you talk, you know, they talk about this great plan, buy it all up. It's all driven by a corporation, came swinging in here, buying this property. Yeah, this guy's a big famous farmer. He's gonna farm it all. He did a nice job, his crops looked wonderful. Now when the dollars come down, they take him to jail. This corporation or investment corporation, because that's what Cirrus is, isn't it? Isn't Cirrus an investment corporation?
Yes.
Making money for stockholders, not for people in Marshall Township, not for people of Marshall. The Marshall businesses will survive. They've been there. Somebody told me that, boy, this will be just great when this goes through. We can expand the airport. You put factories out here, are they gonna go to the little bitty airport over here? Or are they gonna stop at the casino and go to the airport in Battle Creek? You know, so I guess I don't have the confidence in Marshall can handle this. I really think if you guys think this is what needs to be done, we need to talk to Emmett Township and Battle Creek. They've got more abilities to support it. Marshall City has failed.
Yes.
You know, the properties they took away from us, we don't have a Kmart anymore. We don't have, you know, all this stuff, all these businesses out there, we gave it all up to them, and here we are. So I think you all know where my thoughts are. If it goes in, I'll probably make a lot of money. Thank you very much.
I'm Steve Lazar, live on 15 Mile Road in the township. The young man before used the word transparency. I'd like to read a sentence from one of the support letters for this project that was said earlier. As city leaders, we have been entrusted with some information not readily available to the public. That's not transparency.
No.
It's all maybe legal, but it just isn't right. And I have lived in 3 states, and I've heard all about we're going to abide by EPA standards, we're going to have safeguards in place against pollution.
Yes.
You can't have anything this big without pollution. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Nope.
Nope. My name is Virgie Ammerman. I'm the CEO and president of Albion Economic Development Corporation. I live at 305 East Main Street in Homer. I grew up in Albion, spent a lot of time in Albion, spent a lot of time in Marshall, raised my kids in Homer. I've been living on the west side of the state and most recently on the east side of the state. And I've spent the last 10 years of my career doing housing and economic and community development in rural areas across the state. So when I had the opportunity to come home and do economic development here in my hometown of Albion and very close to Marshall, Homer, and the areas that surround Albion, I really jumped at that opportunity. I would like to first talk a little bit about 425 arrangements. Albion has a 425 arrangement with Sheridan Township. I've got 250 acres just outside of the city that I'm responsible as the Economic Development Corporation CEO to get developed. When I do that, I'll be working very hard with very high quality developers that I trust, and I know from my development experience that it will be a heavy lift. It will be a lot of work to manage the environmentals, to manage the financing, to manage the capacity building, to document the marketing, to document all the work that needs to be done. I believe I can do that, and I believe that the Economic Development Corporation in the city of Albion is ready to do that. And I would be very happy to support this opportunity for a 425 land agreement transfer that also puts you in that position to hire the highest quality developers and capture and sustain this part of Calhoun County, because it will be important for not only Marshall, but also for the surrounding communities. We have a vision of housing in Albion that we believe would support this needed housing. We also have a very significant workforce development committee. I'm happy to have someone join that committee. I'm all in. I've got several committees on the EDC that we are making sure we're getting a lot of community input. I would like to also mention that Michigan is one of the states in the last 2 to 3 years, we lose more people than we gain. So we have more folks dying and more folks moving out than we have being born or moving in. Without opportunities for jobs, that isn't going to change, and our small communities are going to disappear. So what do you do? This is a good opportunity to take a chance on, let's see what happens if we can get the 425 in. You can naysay the word chance, but what's the opportunity to grow your community at a bigger pace than by using this 425 transfer tool to allow a large company to really see the opportunity here? So I would be very much in favor of this 425 transfer, because I think it will then, and I know it will then, create opportunities for many, many more conversations. And I will tell you, having developed here in the state of Michigan, it is a lot of work, and it will not come at no stone unturned. In other words, there will be a lot of transparency in that development process. You can be guaranteed that will happen.
Starts when?
So, and the last thing I'll mention is, I just really want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I can't think of a better place to be this evening, and understand that we're really grateful for the democratic process we have here.
Number cuts.
Yeah, take it down. Yeah, take it out. Bring that thing down.
I'm Lou Genunzio, live in the city, on Liberty Street. I have, however, lived in the community for 40 years. I think of, as a former school superintendent in Marshall, I don't think in terms of the city and the township, because the school district was the city and all the townships surrounding it. So I tend to look at it as a community of Marshall rather than the city or the township. In 1983, I was hired to be superintendent of Marshall Public Schools. I served in that capacity for 18 years. I retired in 2001. During my time leading the schools, the Megasite was always a possibility for development. I knew it was zoned industrial, and frankly liked the idea of a potential site that would provide needed jobs for Marshall and the surrounding townships. Schools embrace well-planned community growth because our mission is to educate the community, and people moving to the area bring the children needed to maximize the efficiency of our schools. Marshall Public Schools contracted in size during much of the 70s and 80s as students began to go to college and move out of the area to find jobs. Since then, as a community, we have continually discussed economic development in Marshall that could provide growth and good paying jobs. This hasn't been a secret. Since the 80s, we lost employers such as Eaton's, State Farm, Collins and Aikman, Campbell Soup, Marshall Brass, Ronan and Kunzel, Bostic, Hayes Machine, just to name some that we've lost. We've never replaced most of those good jobs. Some, but not most. All the while, the community lost population and tax base. We need opportunities to bring back, keep, and retain our kids so they develop roots in our community and raise their families here. A large economic development project with high-paying jobs will give us that opportunity. In addition to the impact on schools, community growth brings with it support of our local retailers, home builders, hospital, and various other businesses that rely on a customer base that has diminished over the years. Further, growth in residents spreads the fixed costs of government operations, such as public works, be they utilities, roads, or development of other infrastructure. In closing, as a resident of this community for 40 years, who has witnessed the need for growth, I support the moving of the proposed parcels via a 425 agreement so that we can begin to grow again as a community as well as a school district. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Gretchen, and I'm a resident of Marshall. I am opposed to this Megasite coming in here. I have 3 children, a high schooler and 2 younger ones. I actually homeschool the younger ones because I don't like the school district here. We moved here from Colorado, from Fort Collins, which is a city of about, well, probably 170,000 or more now, and it was a better school district than I've seen in a small town, which is twice the size of the one I grew up in Northwest Ohio. I can't believe that people would be willing to give this up. We moved here specifically for a job in Battle Creek and picked this town because of the small community, because of the downtown, because it looks very much like something from a movie, like It's a Wonderful Life. This is what we chose for our family, and honestly, if this Megasite comes in, we're gone. We are able to be afforded that opportunity because I don't have connections here. I don't know anyone here too closely to where I feel it's a personal issue for me. We'll be gone, and I know other people who feel the same way. I was told by someone here that this has been planned for over 50 years and that no one here wants a recreation or park area, which is simply not true from everyone I talk to, pretty much. Oh, there are some who do want this here, and I understand that. And I understand that towns like this need growth when you've lost people, residents, but at what price? And why can't you grow, the hobby businesses downtown into actual businesses, or stay open a little bit later so people can go downtown and have dinner who don't get off work until 5 or 6, or who don't work a 9 to 5, like my husband, who works for the railroad. That was also brought up to me, the railroad. Coincidence, the railroad, the river, all this beautiful acreage destroyed. And that is what you can guarantee will happen if this Megasite comes in. I have seen nothing on the Choose Marshall site that talks about sustainability of this Megasite coming in, nothing that says anything about any possible cons, which there are always pros and cons, and I'm sure there are pros to this for some people. But what about the cons? At least be honest. The word transparency has come up. That is something I have seen none of since moving here with the school board, the district in general, and it seems like there are a lot of fingers stirring multiple pots who, are going to make so much money off of this. Realtors, what can make money? Bringing in people from out of town so we can build houses and apartment buildings that we've been planning for years. Oh, I'm sure that's a great idea for those people. But what about for the people who already live here or the people who want to move here? We'll be gone. We wanted to move to the country outside of town here, have a homestead, which is big coming back for a lot of people. They want to have homesteads. They want to have a few acres, some animals, things like that. Let their kids have that experience. We didn't want to move to a big town or a big city.